makes me obstinate. If you want me to leave, you're going to have to make me.
You remember that? That's kind of one of my old favorite westerns. Afghan Will Travel with Paladin, Richard Boone. Kind of makes me think again about something I was talking about a couple weeks ago. I'm just going to call it some thoughts on age disease. It's kind of my excuse for not letting my body be able to do the things that it used to be able to do. That's the excuse anyway. And I was kind of reminded of that again today. My wife and I went out for supper today, and we happened to be talking, and we'll always talk at supper, but somebody mentioned some TV shows and that, and of course, as you get older and you talk with the younger people, they don't quite remember things. And, you know, those are keys to, I'm getting a little bit older. When we were at the dinner, we were reminiscing about the time we went to a Western store. We bought some stuff for my saddle, and the guy who waited on us was maybe a little bit younger than us, but not a whole lot. And I saw a poster on the back wall of Steve McQueen, and I made some comment on it. And he said, yeah, it kind of reminded me that I'm getting a little old. Some young lady came in today and asked me where, this is the guy in the store telling the story. Some young lady came in and asked me where the restroom was, and I pointed to the back of the building and said, just go back there to the Steve McQueen poster, and the restroom is right there. And she said, who's Steve? Steve McQueen? Who's that? Well, yeah, and we both kind of chuckled at that. And then, you know, other things came up at dinner, like movie remakes. Do you remember, for instance, the Magnificent Seven? And I'm not talking about the Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt. That's the movie remake. And for me, I know the original of that was a Japanese movie, but for me, it was the Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen version. Still great. There's been a movie remake of Overboard. There's been a movie remake of many others. Do you remember this? You remember there's Three Stooges? That's kind of an indication that not only, you know, things are that I'm getting a little older, but things have changed. We thought that was funny, the slapstick comedy and all that, but today that stuff doesn't work. Wile E. Coyote, that stuff's not going to work today. Just a bunch of indications about age disease. Superman, George Reeves. For me, the original Superman was George Reeves. Many people today, you mention that, young people anyway, you mention George Reeves and they have no clue. He was the original, for me, the best Superman. But today, Superman and Lois Lane have a baby. My, how times have changed. Just some other things that kind of remind me and maybe others my age, just words. Colonoscopy. How do you feel about that word? Senior discounts. What about texting? I how about doctor dating? I have a friend of mine that told me had used that term. He said he and his at that time significant other did some doctor dating today, they said. And I looked at him kind of funny. What is doctor dating? Well, that's kind of where they go to meet, because they have to go to the doctor for separate appointments. They're getting older, and they meet there, and that's how they have their dates, and they call that doctor dating. War wounds. In Lethal Weapon, you remember Mel Gibson and his wife? They shared different war wounds. Where they had their war wounds on their necks and their shoulders and their backs and all that. Well, my wife and I share our war wounds too, except that we're not talking about war wounds. We're talking about how we feel differently each time. We're sharing our old age pains. So, a lot of things happen when you get a little older. I think I like the term age disease. So, I may do one more thing on age disease. I think the next blog that I do will be next week, Friday, and I'm going to talk about something that happens in February. So for now, this is it. I'll see you later.